Welcome to our channel, a place where we don't just tell stories, but uncover untold truths. Today, we're embarking on a journey full of paradoxes, where prosperity and hardship are intertwined in stark contrast. This is San Francisco, a city of skyscrapers, cutting-edge technology, and vibrant culture. With companies like Google, Facebook, and Twitter, San Francisco is not only the tech capital, but also a symbol of wealth and creativity. The bustling streets, upscale neighborhoods, and bright neon lights are the familiar images of this city. However, behind this glittering facade, there exists a dark side that few are aware of. In that darkness, people are struggling with homelessness, unable to keep pace with the high cost of urban life. Right in the heart of these expensive neighborhoods, between towering buildings, lives are being fought for survival. We will witness the stark contrast between the prosperity of the tech hubs and the difficult lives of the homeless being left behind. Join us as we uncover the truth behind the glamorous exterior of San Francisco in this clip, to better understand the homelessness crisis happening right in the city considered the heart of creativity and prosperity. San Francisco, a city of light, of unending wealth, and of brilliant creative minds, is facing a grim reality that few take notice of. This is the place of towering skyscrapers, where big tech companies like Google, Facebook, and Twitter are flocking, bringing enormous revenue to the city. The economy of San Francisco is built on the rapid growth of the tech and tourism industries, attracting millions of people every year to its bustling streets, non-stop entertainment districts. But within the bright glow of these towering streets lies a deep, dark shadow, one that only those truly paying attention can see: the alarming rise of homelessness. The image of people wandering, living in hardship right in the heart of this wealthy city is not a foreign sight. San Francisco, despite its glamorous homes and world-class tech neighborhoods, has witnessed a sharp increase in homelessness in recent years. This is not just a troubling reflection of the shortage of affordable housing, but also a clear indication of the growing wealth disparity between the different social classes within the city. While the city's economy flourishes, the poor find themselves unable to secure a place in life, struggling to survive, sometimes just a few streets away from the opulence of expensive neighborhoods. This reality becomes even more painful when we look at the high-tech areas, where big companies like Google, Facebook, and Twitter are constantly expanding. San Francisco is the global tech capital, where specialists and inventors are creating world-changing innovations, yet it fails to address the homelessness issue right in the heart of its own city. Millions of dollars are poured into developing luxury projects, commercial districts, and skyscrapers, while the need for affordable housing for low-income residents is ignored. The tech industry brings enormous revenue to the city, but it doesn't coincide with solutions to address the urgent housing crisis for the poor. A large portion of San Francisco's population has to live in dire conditions, without a safe place to stay, while expensive neighborhoods continue to develop. This leads to a clear divide between the rich and the poor. The sight of a homeless person sleeping on the sidewalk near luxurious skyscrapers, amidst the bright neon lights, is a heartbreaking contrast. Low-income workers, the elderly, the sick, or families who cannot afford the high cost of living, are forced to live in slums, makeshift tents set up on the sidewalks. They are ghosts in a city considered a symbol of prosperity. This is a reality that many don't want to see, but it is an undeniable part of the San Francisco story. San Francisco is facing an undeniable problem: a severe shortage of affordable housing. The growth of high-end industries such as technology and tourism has driven living costs to levels that are out of reach for low-income individuals. Rent prices in San Francisco have skyrocketed, exceeding the ability of many residents to afford them. A small one-bedroom apartment now costs over $3,000 per month, while the average income of residents is not enough to cover this price. Workers are unable to keep up with the fast-paced and expensive lifestyle of this city, and more, they are being left behind. The city's government does not have a clear strategy to address homelessness. Efforts to provide housing for the poor have been insufficient. Affordable housing development policies have rarely been effectively implemented, and even when public housing projects are launched, the quantity and quality are not enough to meet the demand. Meanwhile, the development of tech hubs and luxury real estate continues to pour money into commercial projects and the construction of lavish residential areas, neglecting the urgent housing needs of low-income residents. This contradiction becomes even more evident when observing the division between social classes. While a portion of San Francisco's residents live in upscale neighborhoods, enjoying a life of abundance and convenience, a large portion of the population faces insurmountable difficulties. They live in terrible conditions, without stable housing, struggling daily with hunger, cold, and injustice. San Francisco, a prosperous city, is allowing homelessness to become an inescapable haunting issue. The sight of homeless individuals wandering the streets, living in slums or makeshift tents, is an undeniable truth that cannot be hidden. The uneven development between technology and social issues has created a vast gap, not only in material wealth, but also in opportunities for life and development. Without strong intervention and fairer policies, this situation will continue to persist and worsen. San Francisco needs to rethink its development approach, invest in affordable housing, and pay special attention to the rights of working-class people, those without a roof over their heads. Only when there is a dramatic shift in development strategies and resource allocation can San Francisco hope to eliminate the deep wealth divide and truly become a prosperous city for everyone. San Francisco, a city renowned for its skyscrapers and the light of Silicon Valley, is facing one of the most pressing issues that many would not expect: a shortage of affordable housing. The tourism and technology industries have attracted millions of dollars every year, creating prosperity for the city. But at the same time, this has created a housing market that only those with high incomes can afford. Meanwhile, low-income workers and families are increasingly left behind. This situation stems from the severe shortage of affordable apartments and housing, as the availability of low-rent housing continues to decline while the number of low- and middle-income individuals continues to rise. Despite San Francisco's strong economy and the influx of financial resources from the tech industry, the city provides an extremely limited amount of housing for low-income families, leaving them unable to find appropriate shelter. This is a painful paradox. While a small portion of the city lives in luxury, a large portion struggles with an uncertain life, without a place to call home. The situation becomes more critical as public housing projects face severe shortages, and resource distribution remains uneven. Areas that receive strong investments are luxury neighborhoods for the wealthy, while areas designated for low-income residents are nearly forgotten. The shortage of affordable housing is not just a matter of infrastructure, but also a social justice issue, as the working class, the poor, and families bear the consequences of an economy that is rapidly growing but fails to meet the basic needs of the people. The cost of living in San Francisco is becoming increasingly expensive. Rent prices have soared over the past few years, making it impossible for many families, including hardworking individuals, to afford housing. A one-bedroom apartment now rents for more than $3,000 per month, an amount that far exceeds the average income of the city's residents. The contradiction between the robust development of the tech industry and the shortage of affordable housing has never been clearer. Although the city benefits from strong financial resources generated by booming industries, very few residents are able to enjoy those benefits. They live in poverty, struggling day by day to make a living in a city where the cost of living is out of their reach. Many workers and low-income families are forced to work up to 80 hours a week just to cover basic expenses. Yet, not everyone can earn a livable wage, which exacerbates the issue of poverty. Not only are they stuck in difficult circumstances, but they also lack opportunities to improve their lives. The inability to find stable housing becomes an insurmountable burden, pushing them into a vicious cycle of poverty and deprivation, making social divisions even more evident. San Francisco is not lacking in resources, but these resources are not distributed equitably. The city government has prioritized the development of tech projects and luxury real estate over focusing on housing solutions for the poor. While the development of upscale areas and tech projects stimulates the economy, it creates significant injustice in resource distribution, leaving the poor further behind. Tax cuts and incentives for tech companies and real estate developers have widened the gap between the rich and the poor. These policies not only enrich the wealthy elite, but also prevent the poor and homeless from accessing the basic services they deserve. This division is not a simple issue. It reflects a system that operates to serve a small group of people, while thousands of others are struggling with difficult lives. San Francisco, with its extraordinary prosperity, should be a city where everyone can find opportunities and a warm home. But the reality teaches us a bitter lesson about the lack of social justice. When resources are not distributed equitably and development policies ignore the poor, homelessness will only continue to worsen. While San Francisco residents are grappling with an increasingly severe homelessness crisis, the city's political officials are facing a heated debate about how to address this issue. Although homelessness is on the rise, not everyone agrees on its root causes. Some argue that it is the result of personal decisions, that homeless people have created their own fate due to their lifestyle and lack of personal responsibility. Others view the issue from a social and economic perspective, believing it to be the consequence of deep economic inequality and a shortage of social support services. These debates not only delay practical action, but also increase the sense of helplessness in solving the homelessness problem. The city government, rather than presenting a clear and coordinated strategy to address the situation, is indecisive and lacks a specific plan. While large initiatives necessary to reduce homelessness have yet to be implemented, the ongoing arguments over who is responsible continue to slow progress in addressing this urgent issue. While San Francisco's government has made small efforts to combat homelessness, the current solutions have yet to resolve the problem entirely. Temporary measures, such as providing temporary shelters for the homeless or short-term financial assistance, are merely a band-aid that covers the wound but does not address the root cause of the issue. The delay in conducting surveys and studies on the homelessness situation has left the government with an unclear and inaccurate understanding of the problem scale, preventing them from implementing long-term solutions. A large portion of public housing policies has also not been adequately invested in. The funds allocated for affordable housing projects are still very limited, while the city prioritizes high-end real estate and tech projects that bring quick profits. This policy has made it impossible for the poor, especially the homeless, to access the basic resources they need to escape their difficult living conditions. San Francisco is not the only city facing the issue of homelessness, but it could learn a lot from cities that have successfully addressed this problem. For example, New York has been a leader in converting office buildings into affordable housing, while planning to add 880,000 housing units over the next 15 years. This is a prime example of using existing resources to address housing for the poor and homeless. However, in contrast to New York's strong actions, San Francisco has yet to take concrete steps to tackle homelessness. Even the proposed solutions are still experimental or lack long-term feasibility. While other cities are proactively implementing large-scale initiatives to address homelessness, San Francisco continues to struggle in finding effective solutions. This delay not only creates more difficulty for the homeless who face danger and deprivation every day, but it also increases social division, creating a harsh reality of wealth and poverty right in the heart of the city. Without a determined and wise strategy, homelessness will continue to weigh heavily on San Francisco, diminishing the value of a city known as a symbol of prosperity and creativity. The truth behind homelessness in San Francisco is not simply a material issue. It is a complex story about psychology, health, and unhealed mental scars. Statistics show that about 44.7% of homeless people in San Francisco are facing serious mental health issues, including depression, post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD), and schizophrenia. These health problems not only affect the quality of life, but also create a significant barrier to maintaining stable employment or finding housing. They not only have to fight against material difficulties, but also face psychological conditions, making it almost impossible to reintegrate into society and escape homelessness. It is heartbreaking to know that these homeless individuals often cannot access the mental health services they need. In a city as developed as San Francisco, the lack of psychological support programs and long-term treatment services for the homeless has created an inescapable vicious cycle. Untreated mental health conditions continue to prevent them from finding stable jobs, rebuilding their lives, and thus they remain trapped in homelessness. This is not just an individual issue for each homeless person, but a serious social problem. When mental health is not given proper attention and treatment, it becomes a massive burden on the community, making the homelessness issue last longer and become even more complex. These individuals need a strong psychological care system capable of meeting long-term treatment needs, but instead, they are left behind in a healthcare system that is inadequate and unable to help them recover. In addition to mental health issues, another serious problem that exacerbates homelessness in San Francisco is addiction. Around 38.9% of the homeless in the city are struggling with alcohol and drug addiction. But what is noteworthy here is that addiction is not just a personal issue. It is a societal issue. When addiction becomes an uncontrollable problem, it creates an enormous burden on healthcare facilities and support services. Those affected by addiction often struggle to access healthcare and recovery services, making it even harder for them to escape homelessness. Addiction makes it nearly impossible to maintain stable employment or keep one's life from being disrupted. This further increases the burden on society, as addiction recovery programs in San Francisco are not strong enough to meet the real needs. Treatment facilities and funding for recovery programs are limited, leaving many homeless individuals unable to access the help they need to overcome their addiction. Although the city is making some efforts to provide recovery services, with limited resources, very few homeless people can escape the vicious cycle of addiction and homelessness. What is even more heartbreaking is that San Francisco is in one of the states with the least developed mental health care systems, and the U.S. budget cuts have led to the closure of many mental health care facilities, leaving thousands of homeless people unable to access the treatment they need. When these facilities close, not only the homeless but also the broader community suffers from the consequences of a lack of mental health support services. Those facing mental health issues like depression, anxiety, or PTSD cannot find shelter, and they cannot get the care they deserve. The mental health care system needs not only to be financially improved, but also to be developed to comprehensively reach homeless people. Without support from mental health care services, homeless individuals will never be able to reintegrate into society, and the homelessness crisis will continue, further damaging the city. The cycle of untreated mental health issues, addiction, and the lack of healthcare services has made it impossible for many homeless individuals in San Francisco to escape their situation. Without proper support, their lives become an endless series of sleepless nights, unfulfilled dreams, and a society turning its back on them. While homelessness in San Francisco continues to worsen, the city's government is facing another serious issue: the budget shortage for mental health services and homeless support. Continuous budget cuts in these areas have led to nonprofit organizations and homeless support programs operating below the required standards. This is a painful paradox. Although San Francisco is a city of prosperity, it lacks the budget to address basic issues related to the health and lives of its citizens, especially the homeless. This lack of funding not only makes mental health care services inadequate and weak, but also causes nonprofit organizations and community groups that are doing their best to help the homeless to struggle in maintaining their operations. Programs offering temporary housing, mental health counseling, addiction recovery services, and other social supports are all facing severe resource shortages. This not only affects the city's ability to solve the homelessness problem, but also forces those who need help the most to continue living in precarious situations without the necessary support. Although the San Francisco government has introduced some initiatives, the support programs for the homeless still lack resources to meet the growing demand. As the demand for housing, healthcare services, and mental health recovery support increases, the current programs are unable to keep up. Nonprofits, while playing a crucial role in addressing the issue, cannot sustain their operations without sufficient funding and infrastructure. The city government faces ineffective resource allocation. Although there are programs to help the homeless, these projects lack coordination and are not strong enough to solve the problem comprehensively. Investments in public housing remain minimal, and temporary policies are insufficient to help the homeless escape their predicament. This results in the continued existence of slums where the poor live, with no real opportunity for reintegration into society. As the homelessness crisis in San Francisco becomes more urgent, the city's lawmakers are embroiled in a debate about the role of the government in addressing this issue. Some legislators are calling for increased investment in public housing, pushing for initiatives to build affordable housing to help low-income and homeless individuals. They argue that the government must take responsibility to address the issue through strong, sustainable measures rather than just applying temporary solutions. On the other hand, a group of legislators believes that government intervention only complicates the problem further. They believe that the free market, with the right conditions, will be able to solve the issue. They argue that excessive government intervention will lead to dependence on subsidies and hinder the natural development of the housing market. According to their viewpoint, solutions provided by the market will help adjust supply and demand more naturally. This debate not only exacerbates the deadlock in creating clear policies, but also prevents the San Francisco government from having a consistent approach to address homelessness. When conflicting opinions cannot find common ground, implementing long-term and effective measures becomes harder than ever. The San Francisco government is faced with an undeniable truth. Homelessness cannot be solved with just temporary measures. Budget shortages, improper allocation of resources, and the lack of comprehensive support programs have created a serious blockage in addressing this issue. Meanwhile, political debates only delay the strong and necessary interventions to help those who are most vulnerable in society. San Francisco, with its wealth and continuous development, can no longer ignore homelessness as an unavoidable issue. It is time for the government and community to change their approach, moving from temporary measures or criminalizing homelessness to more long-term and effective solutions. Temporary policies cannot eliminate the poverty and injustice that torment thousands of people every day. They deserve a chance to reintegrate and live with dignity, not be ghosts in this wealthy city. Looking at the world, we can learn from successful models for solving homelessness. Finland is a prime example, where the government has heavily invested in stable housing and support services. Their Housing First policy has significantly reduced homelessness, allowing homeless individuals to have a roof over their heads and be supported in reintegrating into society. Similarly, Salt Lake City in the U.S. has successfully implemented similar initiatives, proving that with the right investment, this issue can be solved. These models show that when the government and community collaborate closely, any issue can be resolved. In San Francisco, nonprofit organizations like Sheena Light and Hope Home are also working tirelessly to provide housing and care for the homeless. Despite facing a lack of funding and resources, they persist in offering opportunities for those left behind. However, these efforts need greater support from the community and the government to create sustainable change. These organizations are working tirelessly, but they cannot change the entire system alone. Therefore, we need a strong policy reform. The government must prioritize investment in long-term solutions, rather than focusing solely on temporary measures. Developing affordable housing, improving mental health care services, and building addiction recovery programs must become top priorities in the city's public policy. The community also needs to engage more actively, not just through donations or volunteer work, but by creating changes in awareness and actions. We cannot continue to turn a blind eye to such a serious issue. Let's stand up, act together, and create a San Francisco where no one has to live on the streets, a truly prosperous city for everyone.